Hello, my name is Jane, and what I want to talk to you guys today is AdTech industry and why ads are essential to our society. I feel like this is the industry where I'm currently working in, so that's why it's of interest to me, but I feel like that's not what people know a lot about, even though it surrounds us every day on a daily basis. So I'm going to start with, actually, how does this work? Oops. Yeah. So I'm gonna quickly introduce myself. My name is Jane Gleizer. I am a mathematics and computer science graduate from first Imperial College London and then MIT. And right now I'm working in an SSP, which is a supply side platform. I'm going to talk about what it is a little bit later. It's called the Media Grid and belongs to a company named Web that has a few different things that are belonging to AdTech, SSP, GSP, Exchange, things that I'm going to talk more about later. And it recently got acquired by Criteo, and that's the only name that I imagine people have potentially heard because it's the most well-known one. I've been working at Web for a little bit over than 2 years now, and my roles have switched a couple of times, but right now I work as a yield analyst, which means that basically I am in charge in our team's analytics and making sure that we're making as much money and profit as possible and looking at the data very closely, but also working with different teams, product team, operational team, our delivery team. And so I have a lot of exposure and communication in the industry, also talking a lot to the clients and also the demand side of the industry. So what I'm going to talk about here quickly, just an outline. I'm going to explain what AdTech is, how do ads affect our life, and why is it relevant to us, why I think it's relevant to us to talk about this, why it's interesting to talk about this, and who are the main AdTech giants and vendors. And then if you have any questions, we can follow up with those. So a little icebreaker, just something that I thought of. I was wondering, like, when you hear the word cookies, what is it that you think about? And feel free to write in the chats, but I think it's more or less should be the same for everyone. When we talk about cookies, what do we think about? Obviously, that's, let me switch to the next slide. It's something rather delicious, something that we see on the right, something that sometimes has chocolate or raisins or something else, something delicious. But that's not what I think of right now when yes, client-side data store. I see that someone who is here knows what we're actually talking about. Yes, so cookies, when people talk about cookies right now, what I think about is something that is written on the left. So that's actually just a text file that is stored in the browser on the user's device that contains information about the user that can be used to target this user and make ads shown to them more targeted and more built around preferences of this particular user. I don't know why the same name is used as for something you see on the left as for something that you see on the right, but it's funny how your perspective changes once you start looking. Breadcrumbs, yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe, yes, something that you kind of leave behind you. All right, let's move on. So first, what is AdTech? I'm going to give a formal definition here first, and then I'm going to talk a bit about it. AdTech is a broad term that categorizes the software and tools that agencies, brands, publishers, and platforms use to target, deliver, and measure their digital advertising efforts. That's a lot. That sounds like a lot. Basically, ad tech, advertising technology, is a whole industry that is built around advertisement in the internet mostly, but also on connected TVs and just TVs and This is a tech industry naturally from its name, and it's all about delivering ads to the user as fast as possible and as targeted as possible and as contextually relevant as possible, while making sure that advertisers are getting whatever they want, be it views, clicks, or anything else. So basically, ad tech industry contains of two main players: supply side and demand side. Supply side are people who are just willing to set ad places on their domains, on their sites that they're publishing, that they want to tell some story on those websites. They're using them for something. It can be a magazine, it can be a shop, it can be anything. And then there is demand, and then there are people who are willing to spend their money buying ad places and showing their advertisement to the users. So that's the two players of the game, and they're the two main kinds of companies that exist in ad tech are called supply side platform and demand side platform. So supply side platforms work with publishers, with people who are selling places on their websites. Demand side platforms work with advertisers, brands, and agencies that are willing to spend money and show their adverts to users. I try to make this presentation very easy and kind of visual. So what is it that I'm talking about really? It's this: if you look at this particular page or any kind of page that you go on in the internet, you very often see those little ads like the one below that says Bank of America, etc., etc. So what AdTech does, there actually, let me put it this way: there are two ways for Bank of America to put this ad on a user page. One way is to have an agreement with Charlotte's Agenda or whatever that website is, and decide that they're going to be selling, like Charlotte's Agenda is going to be selling their traffic, some of their placements for some of the users directly to Bank of America. These agreements are called direct, naturally, and they're usually done during fancy dinners somewhere by handshaking and stuff like this. And there is not much technology behind this. Basically, people just agree, advertisers agree on some budgets that they're going to be spending on this particular publisher or any other one. And this is done usually via client service negotiation and stuff like this. There's another way, which essentially is doing this via ad tech industry. And this way is, at the moment when the user is entering the page, a request is being sent to multiple SSPs, which says, look, there is a placement, user with a certain ID from a certain region with a certain IP is right now on this particular website. Do you want to buy this ad slot and show your advert here or no? So this request is being sent by the publisher to the SSPs. SSPs then decide, and when I say decide, they're not doing this manually, it's done via ML algorithms and AI. They decide to which advertisers and DSPs they want to send the request to. When they do that, and the DSPs, the demand side platforms, receive this request, they decide, and again, this is done via ML algorithms, not manually, they decide if they want to make a bid on this request. And pretty much real auction is taking place. It's all done in the matter of milliseconds, usually 300 milliseconds. DSPs are making the bid. Then all those bids are sent back to the SSP, and the highest one wins. And then the advert is shown to the advertiser, the most relevant one, but also the one that has been, it's the ad that is of an advertiser that decided that he wants to spend the most money on this advert and on this ad placement. So this is how it's done. This is done very quickly. We see those ads every day, and I bet most of you didn't know that this is happening so quickly in the matter of real time. AdTech also, jumping way ahead here. Yes, so We also see ads on CTV, and this is something that right now it's a very hot topic in AdTech, connected TV. Things like Netflix, YouTube, you see adverts there. Sometimes you're choosing to buy subscription, and then you're not seeing adverts. But sometimes you're just watching whatever you want to watch, whatever bundle you open, whatever application, and you see some ads that are running there. What's important to understand here is that this is the way for bundle developers and for content creators to pay for what they're doing. We're so used to things being free on the open web. I think we've been used to it as users, but someone's got to pay for this. And when we get annoyed with ads and when we kind of not enjoy them and think that they're not useful to us, they actually are very useful because they're helping content creators make sense out of their work and earn some living. Let me move to, so briefly, this is what AdTech is. This is the industry that works around creating first price auction and deliver ads to the users. And I kind of talked about why this is, how does it work on the advertiser side and how money are made here. But let me talk a little bit about why I said a couple of times that the ads that are showed are contextual and that are actually relevant to the user. So cookies, those cookies that we started from, those are text files that have unique user ID that we agree to when we go on the website and click accept cookies. And that ID is being sent in the request to the advertiser, to the advertising platform, the DSP. So advertiser also stores some information about this user. Cookies usually leave it for around 2 weeks. So it's not true that, advertisers have information about the user for years and months or whatever. It's just usually 2 or 3, top 3 weeks. But anyway, they have some history of what the person have been, doing on the web. Where have the person been? What kind of website visited? And usually, it's not tracked. Not the whole information is tracked, but only the summary of it. So basically, in the cookie, you can associate it with the user ID on the DSP mention table. You can find, for example, categories of the websites that the user visited, or kind of keywords or stuff like this. So basically, when DSP is deciding if they want to make a bid on a specific request, the main information that they get is this cookie ID, the user ID. User ID from the cookie, let me put it this way, that would be more correct. And they kind of look it up. They see where the user have been, what the user was previously interested in, and then they're making a choice. Is showing this advert to the user going to be relevant? Is it likely that the user is going to be interested in this advert? And it is important for brands because they're not making the bid just randomly. What they want usually is for user to click on the ad or to view the ad, and there are tools to measure viewability as well. So some of the clients are targeting this. They're saying, look, we don't want to buy any ad places that are going to be less than 60% viewability. And viewability is a weird thing. It's hard, of course, when we're looking at the screen. How do we know if the ad is viewable or not, if our eye is concentrated on that or not? But there are ways, and there are kind of agreements that, how much of the ad is visible on the screen is important. There are some different companies approach it in a different way, but also how much time the user spent watching, for example, a video ad is very important, and that's an easy thing to measure. So that's the goal for the advertiser, to make sure that the user is intrigued by the ad and is clicking on the ad or viewing the ad. So that's why it's important for them to know who the user is, where the user is coming from, which location, which, I don't know, any kind of information that the user can get from the request, the advertiser. And that's how they decide if they want to make a bid or not. How do ads affect our life? Frankly, I kind of already a little bit talked about it, but I'm going to reiterate this. AdTech is unstoppable, being valued at, well, a lot of money in 2021. And this is not something that we think about on a daily basis, but it really impressed me when I realized that such huge um, clients we have, like, for example, the company that I work in, we have such huge clients as the Guardian, for example. And what it made me think that newspapers that we go and read online usually um, are free to access, but they have to make some money somehow. So whenever some material is being published, they need to make sure that their the website, the newspaper, whatever it is making money to create this material. And this is why this tool is very important. Um, it's called Google Ad Manager. This is something that basically most of the publishers use, be it small publishers or big publishers. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the fact that Google is kind of dominating an industry here. But this is not even a supply side platform. This is a platform which, and this is how it looks inside. Oops, sorry. This is how it looks. This is the platform that pretty much anyone, no matter how big or how small, can access. So when we talk about supply platforms, it's usually B2B, so it's business to business. Usual, just someone who published a page online cannot connect to SSP because they're too small, and SSP would not usually be interested in working with such publisher. But Google Ad Manager is actually a platform that anyone can access. It doesn't matter how small, how big. It has a very convenient UI, and anyone who, for example, a doctor that wants to publish a page and with who has private practice and wants to advertise his private practice and wants it to be seen in Google and wants it to be seen on other pages, but he doesn't know how to do that. He has a great skill. He's a doctor. He wants to make use of this skill, but he has no idea how to make sure that the world knows where he is, finds him, and that people who are actually interested in his services will find him. And I'm sure all of us have searched in Google, where is the best something, where's the best dry cleaner, where's the best restaurant, where's the best movie theater, or anything else. And for those to be seen by users, there has to be some kind of prioritization. We see that, in Google search, some links appear above the other ones. And then I'm sure, again, everyone noticed that when we search something, this actual information gets stored about us in cookies, via cookies. And then when we go on other sites, it kind of keeps following us. The suggestions on the ads, they keep following us. So that's important. That's important for us because even though I think it's kind of commonly thought of advertisement as something that is annoying and not helpful, in fact, it is very helpful, because without it, we wouldn't be able to find any sort of information. And without Google, we wouldn't be able to navigate our life, really. And so that's one thing. And then another one is that it's very, very important for the business, for small businesses, and for everyone who is trying to make a living and promote their services, at least in the world that we currently live in, that is not very socialist, let's put it this way, mostly. It's important to be promoted, to be known, to be seen. And it's actually, for me, it's kind of impressive that anyone can, without paying any fee, can log into Google Ad Manager, start their own campaign. It's a little bit, I find the UI quite annoying, but it's all possible, it's all doable. And then everyone can choose how to promote their page. Would they be paying only by users who are clicking on the ad? Would they be paying only for views, or for any sort of ads shown, depending on the goal that the publisher has? So this is why I think it's important to understand how this industry works and what it is. Who are the main ad tech giants? That's the third part. Well, there's a slide here, but I'm sure that most of those names are not very familiar to people here. Why I think it's important to talk about this as well is because Google, actually, Facebook is not on here, interestingly. But I think it's important to talk about this because Google and Facebook are dominating this field, and they're actually pretty much a monopoly right now in ad tech, even though you see a lot of names here, a lot of great companies that are working and that are working in the independent part of the internet. Google is still dominating the space, and it does it in a very, very subtle way. In fact, they have been sued, and they're still in the process of being sued for being a monopoly. And one of the things that Google is trying to push right now is to reject all the third-party cookies from Google Chrome. And let me explain what that means. Basically, when we go on a page, as I said, we click accept cookies, and then those little text files are being stored on the user's device in the browser cache. And first-party cookies are the cookies that are created by the publisher. You can erase your cookies completely, your cookies for the last 2 weeks or the last couple of days. And you can also disagree to cookies. But it's in the settings, you can find it, yes. But like not accepting first-party cookies is a little bit harder than third-party cookies. Some of the websites will make you accept first-party cookies. And first-party cookies are used for things like remembering your login and password. For example, when you go on Facebook in the web browser, and then you reopen Facebook and you're still logged in, this is what first-party cookies are used for. But together with this, they're also used to store user ID that is used for advertising. So when you erase all of your first-party cookies, if the website allows you to do that, it's going to be a little bit annoying. Third-party cookies are actually same thing, same technology, same idea. It's just a little text file stored on the device, but they are not created by the publisher, by the entity that owns the website. They're created by third parties, basically, and companies that are on this list here in front of you. And basically right now, Google is saying for the last 2 years, they've been saying it, and they've been postponing their decision to reject all third-party cookies in Google Chrome because there's a lot of publicity about this, and there's a lot of people who are not happy with this idea. Basically, they're coming from the idea of privacy. They're saying that if the user accepts third-party cookie, then much more people are going to view their information, their data, and that's not really secure. But what they're not talking about is that first-party cookies are not going anywhere. So even if third-party cookies disappear, Google, as an advertiser in this case, will always be able to see users' data, and they will actually be the only one who will be able to see this data. So they will effectively have a monopoly on this information, and they will be the only ones delivering the ads. So that's a very kind of hard and tricky, hot topic in the industry. Everyone is talking about it, and people are coming up with great alternatives to cookies. Right now they exist, and I think they are allowing more privacy in the space. They are allowing people to be more kind of hidden from the world. But again, we're talking about being hidden from all the third parties, but not Google. And I'm saying Google because I'm talking about Google Chrome. For Safari, for example, it would be Apple, and so on. So for Google Chrome, actually for everyone, the current solution is to place users in the cohorts and not track exactly the information about the user, but rather track what kind of group of people, group of users are they belonging to? Are they belonging to a group of users that is usually interested in shopping, or are they belonging to the group of users that are usually interested in technology, or are they belonging to a group of users that is interested in something else? This allows more privacy, and this is something that Google would support. But at the same time, again, I really want to underline that first-party cookies are not going anywhere. And again, I don't think that we would love them to see them go. Yes, let me go to the next. Oh, I think we've been there. Yeah. Just some figures. So Criteo is the company where I currently work in. Google, I'm sure everyone has heard about. And Trade Desk is one of the biggest and most important, as they call themselves, independent DSPs, so demand-side platforms. This is the amount of money that went through the companies in the year of 2021. And Criteo and Trade Desk pretty much are the biggest ones, probably, in the independent internet right now. Two companies, they're doing a little bit different things. So Criteo is mostly focused on retargeting and making sure that the ads that are shown to the user result in clicks and purchases. And actually, they even go as far as tracking purchases offline rather than online. So basically, if you go, for example, on a website and you see an ad and you like something and you click on this ad, and then you start browsing and you want to buy something, and it's, so Criteo is dealing with mostly with retail media. So the ads that they're showing are usually of shops. So if you go and you click on the ad and you browse around, you look at the things, you put something might be in the basket, but then you don't complete the purchase. So that's not ideal for Criteo. So their goal is for you to complete the purchase. And if they keep showing you the same ad and you keep going and you keep clicking and you keep adding things to the basket, but then you end up not buying, because that's what people do in the real life very often. If after doing that for some time, you're walking on the street that you've been on the web page of which you've been so many times, and you've added so many things to the cart, but you never completed the purchase, you go inside the shop and you finally pick up the things that you wanted to buy online, and you go to the cashier, and the cashier asks you, can we please have your name, address, or email? That's when the algorithm, the Criteo's algorithm, understands that the purchase has been completed. And actually, that's when the advertiser is paying the money to Criteo, because your email is being hashed and stored by Criteo. And then when it's being hashed and stored by the store offline, when they match, that means that the transaction has been completed. So that's what Criteo works with mostly. They also work with publishers a lot and selling ad places for publishers to advertisers and to do the DSPs. And that's where IPONWeb, the company that I initially worked in, comes into play. Trade Desk is a DSP, demand-side platform. So they work with advertisers and brands and different agencies that are willing to spend some amount of money on advertisement and get different results. Sometimes it's just show ads, sometimes it's for users to click the same story. Why they're important? Because I think they are probably, apart from Google, the biggest DSP right now. And they are very dominant in the field. They kind of dictate the rules. They go and have direct relationship with publishers without SSPs that DSPs usually don't have. And I wanted to show, like, by putting those figures on the screen, I just wanted to show you the huge difference between Google and everyone else. even though in ad tech industry, names Google, Criteo, Trade Desk sound kind of together in line, the real figures behind them are very different. And I realize now that I use the word SSPs and DSPs and explain them, but what I didn't talk about is that the fact that ad tech industry is actually very, very complex. So it started with just being a publisher and advertiser, and this is when the direct campaigns appeared, and then SSPs and DSPs appeared, so supply side platforms and demand side platforms. And the idea was that there has to be some kind of algorithm, machine learning introduced into this world to make it more fun and interesting and more relevant for everyone, for brands, for users, for publishers. And that was done on SSPs and DSPs. But then a lot of different other entities started appearing. So maybe it's a little bit surprising in the beginning that the industry is so huge, but actually the industry is not only publishers and advertisers. The industry is also publishers, SSPs, exchanges. That's something that sits between SSPs and DSPs, and then DSPs, and then agencies, and then advertisers. Sometimes there are also different publisher exchanges that sit between publisher and SSP. A lot of those are kind of useless and have very similar algorithms. When those interact with each other, a lot of mess is happening, because when you put one algorithm that is trying to optimize something and then another one that is trying to optimize the same thing, but it's learning from the output of the first one, there's a lot of extra work that is not necessary. However, lately there has been movement towards in the industry supply path optimization. So basically those extra entities are disappearing one by one. It's not happening quickly. It's not happening. It's not going to happen within a month or a week or even probably a year. But there is a tendency to make the path from publisher to advertiser cleaner. And I think with this, there will be some changes in those figures that you see on the screen right now. However, we'll have to wait a little bit for that. That's more or less all I wanted to talk about, unless you have questions. Yes, so a little wrap up. So AdTech is a huge industry that people interact with daily, yet they don't hear much about it. I try not to be too technical here and just explain you the basics, but I am happy to answer any more technical questions, because I think that's fascinating. One thing that I love as well about AdTech is that you can see it with your own eyes very easily. If you go on any page that you've ever seen an advert on and you click inspect, you can actually see those requests we were talking about being sent. And you can have a look. You can look at all the information about you that is being sent. You can also have a look at the cookies with the same tool. You click inspect and go to application and look at all the cookies that exist. You'll be surprised how many different cookies there are usually on a web page, but you'll be also surprised by small amount of information that is contained in every cookie. It's not tracking every single move of yours. It just contains the user ID usually, and maybe something else, contextual information. So it's all very accessible, even though it feels like, and what people usually talk about is that, the big brother is watching us and everything is hidden and is not accessible to our understanding. Actually, it's pretty easy to just have a look at the data yourself and kind of just enjoy how simple it is. Second thing is that Google and Facebook are close to being, thank you, Vitaly, to being monopolies in ad tech space. And I should put Amazon here as well, because they are growing growing player in this field for sure. They are not as big as Google and Facebook, but they are getting there. And yes, cookies are not always eatable, but they're always fun to look at and explore. I think I'm gonna stop here. And if you have any comments or questions, I think there was one. Are the bidder informed their bid was accepted or rejected in real time? Yes, they are. So basically, what do bidders do? They insert a tracker in the impression that they, in the potential impression that they're sending, and when when this impression wins the auction, and when the ad is shown, there's like a little pixel. You can't see it in real life, but on every ad that is shown, there is a small pixel which is completely different from the whole ad. And when it's being fired, when it's being run by the code of the page, then the DSP, the demand, is getting notification about this pixel being fired, and that means that the whole ad was shown. There is sometimes fraud there because sometimes publishers or SSPs that are willing to commit fraud, they're just firing those trackers instead of firing the whole impression. But there are some tools to avoid that as well. What do you think about the negative impact of ads, such as controlling narratives, persuading individuals towards desired outcomes? Yeah, Cambridge Analytica, super interesting case. And yeah, that's a good question. I think, and I asked myself a lot this as well when I started working in this industry. What I think is that, personally, that's my personal opinion, that it's very complicated, the technology behind this, and it's very modern, and that's something that always comes with, like, the good always comes with bad and the other way around. I think the world without advertisement right now would be worse than the world with advertisement, because advertisement, as I said, helps a lot of publishers. It helps making money. It helps people finding what they're looking for, and it's necessary for the world. For example, for the cities, the amount of money that advertisements on the streets is bringing to the city's budget, for the big city's budget, is huge. And that's how, big cities are able to renovate streets, for example. So I do think that advertisement is necessary, and without it, our world would be grimmer. However, of course, it's not good when ads are controlling the narrative. And I think it's hard to avoid the bad when you're working towards the good. So that's how it works. But yeah, it's amazing that case was actually found out, and there was all this research done about how they've done it. So that was very impressive for me to learn. Does this info mainly relate to US market? How do you estimate the Yandex info? Yes, so I was talking mostly about the US market. Our company used to work in Russia as well. It doesn't right now. Yandex is basically Russia's Google in many ways, and in terms of advertisement as well. When our company was working in Russia, they barely made any money because Yandex was a monopoly there, and is still. So yeah, they have very similar technology to Google Ad Manager, the one that I showed. It's called Yandex Direct, if I'm not mistaken. And it's very similar. I don't know that much about it, but there is a way. There's a way for publishers in Russia to monetize their pages as well, which is great. And yeah, biggest markets, of course, are in the US. From working in Criteo, we also work with EU and APAC. In EU, actually, it's a little bit sometimes harder because there are more privacy laws, which is good. But it means that it's a little bit harder to monetize some of the requests. It's called GDPR, General Protection, I think, Privacy. law, something like that. And yeah, basically, when users opt out, GDPR applies to the UK as well. Um, Actually, a good question. At least it did apply when they were in the EU, but I think it still does. Um, there are a lot of agencies in the EU, actually, among all the European countries, ex-European and European countries. UK has the most amount of brands and agencies located there that are willing to spend money. Do you see specific challenges in starting a new ad tech company? Oh no, it's super simple. Very easy. Creating an SSP is very easy. It's it's really hard to become big because all the places are kind of taken already. And the media grid, the SSP where I'm working in, they are trying to become really big, and it's happening right now because of the Criteo acquisition. They will be very big, I think personally, but it took them some time to become big because yeah, kind of all the good places are already taken. But if you want to start an ad tech company that will work with, I don't know, kind of small, semi-small publishers, or you want to start a publisher network, it's very easy to do that. Also, it's very easy to sell fraud. Unfortunately, in ad tech, there are a lot of tools against it, but there are a lot of companies that are just um, that are stating that they're an SSP or a publisher network, and then they're selling just empty traffic to demand, and that, yeah, that's very easy to do. I don't advise to do that, but it's very easy to do. Do companies tend to spread their ad budgets around to different publishers to continue testing what works? Um, yes. It's a very complicated question because it really sometimes some of the advertisers don't even know who the publishers are, and they don't even care. It really, really, really depends on the funnel, the advertising funnel, like what they're actually interested in doing. um, some advertisers just care about clicks, and that's what they're buying, and they're coming to the DSP with this in mind and saying, look, this is all I want a gazillion clicks. I don't care on which traffic, on what traffic, on which website my ad is shown. Just do your job. That's one approach. Another approach is being like extremely picky, and I've seen some agencies via DSPs whitelisting every single domain that they agree to show their advertisements on. That's another approach. So if we're talking about kind of human approach, that's my answer. If we're talking about machine learning approach, there's always a component, like there's always learning elements there. So there's always decisions that are being made because they are the best, but there's also a percent of exploration always for just placing an ad somewhere new place, or sending traffic to the DSP that we wouldn't expect to buy, or something like that. I hope this helps. Thank you for listening. And the questions were really, really great. I really enjoyed answering them. Thank you very much, everyone, for asking them. It was super fun. I think we're about done. So thanks again, and enjoy your day. Bye bye. Oh, wait, sorry, hold on. There's another question. How would the appearance of ChatGPT affect the client side? I haven't thought about that. Let me think about it. Client side, you mean publishers or advertisers? Um, I don't know, to be honest. I haven't thought of the ways that ChatGPT can be used for for AdTech, but I don't know. It might. I mean, kind of. What I would say, probably it would shorten the supply path. That's possible because not supply path, but sorry, the whole path from from the publisher to the advertiser, because it would probably bring a faster way of connecting the two. And maybe it can be just publisher, ChatGPT, and advertiser without all the middlemen. But that's just something on the top of my head. I'm not sure. All right. Well, thank you again. And if there are no more questions, I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you. Bye.